That's what you were saying, meeting at the table with people. There's a difference between, we meet at this table every day. We all have different perspectives on the world. There's a difference between meeting with someone who I think is a hate leader. I wouldn't meet with David Duke. Like, there are people I will not meet with, period. And I think he is in the same vein to me as David Duke. If you are so hateful that you think Hitler was a great man, I don't think you deserve a platform.
I agree.
So we get into the Hitler hypocrisy. Meghan McCain says Farrakhan called Hitler great. So Tamika Mallory and none of the activists, none of the Congressional Black Caucus should have anything to do with Minister Farrakhan because of what you just heard him say. Now, this is a man who, William Shirer, he wrote a book called The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. He said Adolf Hitler is probably the last great adventurer, conquerors in the tradition of Alexander, Caesar, and Napoleon. Now, before he died, William Shirer was given an honor and a proclamation for being a friend of Israel. He wasn't called an anti-Semite. But he said Hitler was great in his book. A great adventurer, a great conqueror. Now, I'm going to take you to the hood for a minute. Y'all don't mind going to the hood, do you? I'll take you right into your grandmother's living room. See, we had to learn later about the Trinity that was the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. But we grew up with the Trinity. With Martin Luther King, White Jesus, and JFK. Am I right or wrong? That was the Trinity we knew about in Grandma's living room. Well, about a year ago, they auctioned off the diary of JFK. And when you know, he has some interesting things to say about Adolf Hitler. President Kennedy said, you can easily understand how that within a few years, Hitler will emerge from the hatred that surrounds him now as one of the most significant figures who ever lived. He added, Hitler had boundless ambition for his country, which rendered him a menace to the peace of the world, but he had a mystery about him in the way he lived and in the manner of his death that will live and grow after him. He had in him the stuff of which legends are made. Now that's what JFK said. The minister didn't say all of that. JFK called Hitler a legend. Said he was looking into him and understood why people loved him. That's what President Kennedy said. But they don't call JFK an anti-Semite. They have the Kennedy Center honors, right? Many of the Kennedy family are in politics, right? To my knowledge now, I could stand to be corrected, but I haven't heard the ugly term anti-Semite associated with any of the Kennedys. And then, this is a rational defense. The man at the auction house says, well, there's no glorification, and I wouldn't take this out of context. Mr. Livingston, who was auctioning off JFK's diary, where these words were documented. He said, I think Kennedy was a historian, and he's writing his understanding of Hitler's place in history. Same thing that the minister was doing. Deirdre Henderson, the longtime owner of the diary and who was also Kennedy's research assistant during his years in the Senate, corroborated Livingston's sentiments. Quote, when JFK said that Hitler had in him the stuff of which legends are made, he was speaking to the mystery surrounding him, not the evil he demonstrated to the world, she said. Nowhere in this diary or in any of his writings is there any indication of sympathy for Nazi crimes or causes. I could say the same thing about Minister Farrakhan. Intelligent, mature people can appreciate someone being consequential, someone being significant, but they're not necessarily good, noble, or righteous. Heck, you can't be a Christian and not respect that the devil is great. Oh, now don't start that now. Because what do we say when we get busted? The devil made me do it. Many exorcists make money exorcising demons out of people, because the devil apparently has some power to make people do things that they don't want to do. But he ain't good. He ain't righteous. We ain't signing up to be in league with the devil or with Satan or Shaitan. We want to be on the side of God and his righteousness. Now, I want to carry you. I know the internet have all but killed the encyclopedia. But there are some encyclopedias that still exist. So let's look at what the encyclopedia says, and you'll see the encyclopedia completely vindicate the Honorable Louis Farrakhan and JFK. The Encyclopedia Britannica online says there's a general consensus about Hitler's historical importance. They put in parentheses a term that does not imply a positive judgment. Hitler was principally and alone responsible for starting World War II. His most amazing achievement was his uniting the great mass of the German and Austrian people behind him. Throughout his career, his popularity was larger and deeper than the popularity of the National Socialist Party. A great majority of Germans believed in him until the very end. In this respect, he stands out among almost all of the dictators of the 19th and 20th centuries, which is especially impressive when we consider that the Germans were among the best educated peoples in the 20th century. Of course, what contributed to this support were the economic and social successes for which he fully took credit during his early leadership. The virtual disappearance of unemployment, the rising prosperity of the masses, the new social institutions, and the increase of German prestige in the 1930s, achievements unparalleled in the histories of other modern totalitarian dictatorships. In spite of the spiritual and intellectual progenitors of some of his ideas, there is no German national leader to whom he may be compared. In some, he had no forerunners. Another difference between him and other dictators. By 1938, Hitler had made Germany the most powerful and feared country in Europe, and perhaps in the world. He achieved all of this without war, and there are now some historians who state that had he died in 1938, before the mass executions began, he would have gone down in history as the greatest statesman in the history of the German people. That's the Encyclopedia Britannica. That ain't Minister Farrakhan. That ain't the Nation of Islam. That ain't Brother Dimitri. That ain't Brother Anthony. That's the Encyclopedia Britannica. So what the minister said is true. He wasn't good. He wasn't righteous. And neither he nor us are proud of what he did to the Jewish people. But you wouldn't be talking about him today if he was not a man of consequence. So this is all a trick. This is all a slander made to keep people from listening to the truth that's coming out of the mouth of the minister. Have any of you ever heard of Henry Kissinger? Yes, sir. Pretty powerful man, huh? Let me show you what Mr. Kissinger said to Richard Nixon in the Richard Nixon tapes. Henry Kissinger, who is a Jew, he said the immigration of Jews from the Soviet Union is not an objective of American foreign policy. And if they put Jews into gas chambers in the Soviet Union, it is not an American concern, maybe a humanitarian concern. This is what Henry Kissinger said. He's Jewish. Now, to show you the hypocrisy, to show you the double standard, to show you that they treat our man like they don't treat nobody else. Look at what Abraham Foxman said in response. Abraham Foxman, the former head of the ADL, said Dr. Kissinger's contributions to the safety and security of the U.S. and Israel have solidly established his legacy as a champion of democracy and a committed advocate for preserving the well-being of the Jewish state of Israel. The Nixon tape should not change history's verdict on the important contributions and ultimate legacy of Henry Kissinger. So Kissinger gets a pass from the ADL. They got him on tape in the Oval Office. He's speaking to the President of the United States, the quote-unquote leader of the free world, and said that, man, look, we don't need to be concerned about the Jews in the Soviet Union. This is the same Abraham Foxman who leads the charge against Minister Farrakhan as being an anti-Semite. So this is foolishness, brothers and sisters. It's foolishness. It's a political trick.